So we actually got a really good rock solid episode here on Tensura. Not only am I saying this, but we have another good one next week when the tournament finally starts. And I am so excited. Lord knows I'm excited. But this episode, I said in my reaction that overall, I believe this was actually a very good episode, and it didn't feel like it was rushed. It had a lot of information, but it didn't feel like it was all like squished together and mashed together and just like, here, we're just gonna spew this out at you and then throw together an episode. One thing happened after another, it happened after another, and it seemed like it had a flow, and it felt like, okay, this was some really good information to know for the future, which is definitely a lot better than just sitting around talking in a meeting circle, which, even though we did get a little bit of that, it wasn't even that bad when they talked about finances. If you're here for this long, make sure you guys like the video. Make sure you guys are subscribed because we have not only this anime, but several other to go over in the future. Please make sure you guys are subscribed. And if you want to see the full reaction, check out the Patreon because by now it will definitely be loaded up there. So first things first, these girls cleaned up nice. I mean, look at them. Look at them. They were all fancy, looking their best, and for someone who is well endowed as Shion is, I mean, she has a nice, tasteful dress. Like, they both look marvelous. And if this is what you guys were talking about in the comments, saying how they better not skip the opera scene, this was well worth it because it was very, very pleasing and very much eye candy here. It's like, oh, these girls, okay, you know, showing off some skill here and looking very cultural and very nice. It's like, okay, all right. So definitely they looked the best. But we definitely need to go into the matter of this episode because there were several topics that happened. And through these topics, there was a lot of information shared that will definitely be important for the future. But let's start off with the tech talk, if you will. Now, I really like the tech talk that we had here, where they were showcasing a lot of scientific features and strives they've done here at Tempest in order to attract the more sophisticated crowd. They went through the opera, they did the cultural aspect of it, but notice that there was different leaders that were there, the leader of the Dwarven Kingdom and several other high status nobles and such, even Rimuru. You know, of course Rimuru's there, he's trying to see how his boys are doing, but they actually shared some really interesting news for this universe that might be very helpful for the future. Now, the biggest thing is the fact that they showcased how a potion repaired a sword. Now, in this day and age, that may not seem a whole lot important, but you gotta understand, think of being in the fantasy world. If you're in a fantasy world, right, you got magic, you got swords, you got all this stuff. Your weapon is your lifeblood. So when you get your weapon destroyed, albeit in this fantasy world or even in games, like we played several games that, you know, you have a weapon, and if you've recently played Zelda on the Switch, you know that there's a lot of weapons that actually go through there. But just imagine if you were able to repair it with just a potion. Potion normally, you know, restores health to yourself, but what if it was able to restore the weapon? No longer do you have to take your weapon to a blacksmith to get it repaired, or if it's just absolutely broken, it's just gone. But now he's like, hey, that same potion that you may use for healing properties can also heal a sword. That is huge in their world. That is essentially as if someone made a new technological stride in our day and age. They found a way to repair inanimate objects. But their thesis was the fact that, are these actually inanimate? Now, granted, everyone's gonna be like, yeah, of course, but Gabiru was saying how he went into this and thought about looking into it because previously they thought the same thing of plants, like grass and all this stuff, trees, and how they're like, oh, there's nothing to them. But later realized that they too have a spirit over time, and that's where the dryads and such come from. So what about, weapons that we deal with? Now, they learned that weapons may or may not have a soul, but having a bond with a weapon, like a weapon that has been with you through thick and thin, and I can only really kind of compare it to like gaming and such, because I'm sure there's a lot of gamers that have played games and you've had that one weapon, whether it's like a legendary or something, but it is that one weapon you love to use all the time. Imagine the same thing, but more in a realistic, real life situation in a fantasy world where you have that one weapon that you use all the time. It's your reliable weapon, and then it breaks. Like, that is devastating to you. But now it can be magically repaired with potion. So even the nobles is like, oh my God, this is crazy news. And there's like, why aren't you saying this in a more scientific standard? Like, I assume that there's probably in their world some type of expo where different scientists and such. Rimuru's people are trying to showcase, hey, this is what you'll find at Tempest. Especially when they went into the whole plants thing. It's like, hey, what's the difference between this plant that everyone uses as potions to heal with and a weed? Well, they're going to be like, well, there's a big difference. But they are stating, actually, they're the same thing, except that the potion plant, the hippocute, however you want to say it, is actually weeds that have been exposed to a high concentration of magicals, which is the same thing of some ores. They already knew about this about ores, but apparently didn't even think about the application with plants. So they're making like huge discoveries here and there that I'm surprised Gabiru's boys aren't even there. They were, if you look closely, they were in the orchestra of the opera and such. So it's like, okay, hey, his boys are there. But Gabiru is actually spitting facts here, showing off his intelligence, showing how good he is, and his boys aren't there to prop him up. The one time they should be cheering for him. This is that time. But I guess they wanted to be more serious here because he is honestly spitting some serious scientific facts and new discoveries that is like, hey, we learned about this. So, you know, if you guys want to learn more, send over your people, your scientific minds to Tempest. Pretty much as if it's a walking billboard advertisement for the people that are most intelligent in this world. So great tech talk here that even myself and a lot of viewers probably could follow to a very good margin. So I am looking forward to, especially that train that was going around. That train looked pretty cool. And I'm sure that's going to be more important later because they're probably going to use that train for trade as, you know, for long distances. But yeah, great talk here. But this wasn't it. There was still more stuff in this episode that actually was important. Now, I really like this segment with Lady Luminous. Now, she, of course, speaks with Rimuru, and honestly, I was wondering what she had to talk about, but it was actually really good that she enjoyed the opera and the music so well that she wants to do a cultural exchange. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. But what does Rimuru get out of it? Like, what's the whole point of him saying yes to this? But when she said that she would teach him a move, that is so powerful. Like, the ability for one demon lord to teach another demon lord a move and then he just instantly gets it, that's actually more favorable for Rimuru. Now, granted, she may value the cultural exchange very highly, but when your leader or a leader of the nation is able to get more firepower, in this case, he's able to get an ability to pretty much buff up his allies and followers through holy magic, which he wasn't using before. So this is a whole new skill tree that he's able to start off with and maybe progress to a certain degree. That is huge. I really think that Rimuru got more out of this deal than she did. Now, like I said, it all depends on how much she values the cultural, and as she says, she really does like the music and such. But Rimuru getting an ability that he didn't have before that he can use for the future, and it works for his subordinates, that is really, really good. Tempest is going to have future issues. So having some new ability to make yourself stronger as its leader, great move on his part and a great deal. I'm sure a lot of you guys noticed, I love the tonal shift. As after the deal was done, she's like, hey, by the way, have you been noticing your people, the people you've been coming around here? And Rimuru's like, yeah, you're talking about these two guys or two people. She's like, okay, all right, you still know what you're doing here. Okay, hey, I'm just letting you know, you gotta watch out for at least two people. Now the question is, who are those two people? Racking my brain like, okay, who could those two people be? Because I definitely don't think it's a Lightspeed hero. The only two I can really think about is either Yuki, who we've been talking about for the last several episodes, but Yuki and Maribel Rosa. It's gotta be those two, because I'm sure Yuki's hiding all his power and stuff on the down low, because we know how he truly thinks and what he truly feels about stuff. But Maribel's been walking around. You'll notice her in different scenes like, oh, there she is. And it's like, okay, she definitely is someone to keep mindful and keep an eye on. And those are the two people that we know of as viewers that are, we could say evil, but they are two people we know of that are looking to do harm to Rimuru in some way or another. Now, granted, there could be somebody else. It could be the fact that it's Maribel and somebody else that we don't know of that they'll talk about in the future or a future season. Manga readers probably know for sure, but as a anime only watcher, I'm just speculating like, okay, who could it be? And I firmly believe it's got to be those two. Now, this part about the finances was actually very surprising to me. It of course surprised Rimuru when he's like, wait, we have no money? Because, you know, they're rich, but they are poor in the same instance. So imagine this, you are a billionaire, right? But you have no money. All your financial and the point that makes you a billionaire is tied to, like, you know, maybe art or something that you can't liquidate very quickly. So if you have this one expensive art piece and you're like, oh, I'm rich because of the value of this art piece, you can't just go around and be like, hey, the contractor to your house is like, hey, I need a couple of $100 to pay for it. Well, if you don't have the money for it, you can't exactly sell that on a dime to get the money off of it to show your value. So it's the same thing here. They have treasures that they have, but they're not liquidated to the common dwarven currency, or the coins that they have gotten from their reparations are, as they said, one coin is worth 100 of the dwarven coins. They don't have the actual currency, dwarven coins, in order to pay the merchants that have come to this nation in order to sell things. So of course, there's several of them asking, hey, you got to pay us. We need the money right now, which is weird because they're like, well, that's a little weird that all of these guys are coming together at one point. So that's why they're saying there's got to be some type of mastermind behind the scenes in order to try to disrupt this new nation. So of course, Rimuru can't exactly like go out and get a loan very quickly, because even he said, yeah, we're a new nation. And so it's not like we have a reputation right now in order to do a loan very well. So they're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. That is until Shion is like, but wait, this doesn't seem quite right. The key is the Western provinces, which is from these traders have come from, they have a council, and that council is very important. People like to be like, oh, we got to pay attention to the council. But Shion's like, wait a minute, we have allies. We have all these important allies. And she just kind of goes just listing them, allies, the territories, and then how Tempest is going to be in the center of all of them. Technically, as Tempest are going to be a economic powerhouse in the future. So Shion's like, wait a minute, we should be the ones dictating to them, and they should be begging us. We are thinking small. We're thinking, oh, we're new in Tempest. We got to listen to these merchants and stuff. Okay, we'll pay you guys. Of course, Shion's like, we don't have to bow to them. They should be bowing to us. which she makes a valid point. And of course, she and Diablo here are like, yeah, let them bow to us. And then if they cause trouble, then we'll really show our might. And of course, Rimuru's like, no, we don't want to fight them. We want to deal with this peacefully. But they have a point. And even Rimuru just kind of brushes off as like, just tell them we'll take care of it at some point. We're going to go party now. Overall, this meeting was very important because I never even thought about this. Like, it makes sense. In the last few episodes, they've been talking about how, hey, we're rich because we got these assets, we're getting these coins, everything's good for us. But lo and behold, that changes when you have someone that wants their money now. All of that is money they will get and will have value in. But right this moment, it's like, I need my money now. Pay me right now. It's like, oh, okay. When you put it like that, we kind of are a little poor for now. So overall, you can start to see the beginnings of someone trying to meddle with Tempest, even through these festivities, even through the fun that everything's happening. There's someone still trying to come in there, pull a little bit of the strings and be like, and kind of put some coals to the fire of Tempest, like, oh, you trying me? Okay, I see you. So the question is, who is doing this? Now, granted, I believe this is the Rosa family. Have we seen a while ago how they were, had their little council and such, and how they were trying, even though they're going to be lay low, but they're still trying to do something here. So I believe it has their influence. But overall, Shion's right. It's like, we are the powerhouse, especially the future powerhouse, and you would be a fool not to bow to our whims if you want to get in on this on the ground floor. And you want us to be happy with you. Now we have to be happy for what you want us to do. So a very interesting play here, financially and economically. But I think this was a great story to tell in this episode that already had a lot of good marks and cues. That overall, I think this is a great episode, like I said before. But I am super excited for next week because we're finally going to get into the tournament, and I'm looking forward to finally seeing a lot of fight scenes, a lot of battles, and a lot of one-sidedness that's definitely going to be happening. It's going to be hilarious. But tell me what you guys think in the comments down below. Am I right? Am I off base? Hey, I am okay with some constructive criticism because I definitely love to talk about this and talk about anime. If you didn't already know, please like the video, please subscribe, and turn on that bell for the future notifications because we'll definitely have a lot more videos coming out in the future, especially in this upcoming season that's going to be happening very shortly. So you guys be safe, take care, enjoy yourselves, and Lord willing, I will see you next time. Bye for now.
This ain't what you want, bitch, I'm a fucking phenomenon.